Ein is a pathetic loser who works as a carrier. His life was miserable until he is saved to become the strongest wizard. Ein, a low common appraiser at the edge of a cliff, blames himself for being weak and falls off. As he falls, he questions his existence, realizing that he hasn't accomplished anything and that his life is already ending. He reflects on how terrible his life has been, having been treated like garbage, and now he is dying like one. Earlier that day, in a dungeon, Zoid is battling a rat monster while Ein watches from the shadows. Zoid strikes the giant rat, and Jolene, who is preparing an incantation, finally releases a fireball, defeating it. They both feel proud of their abilities and tell Ein to take over, referring to him as a trash picker. Ein, who looks hungover, stumbles and falls over, giving Zoid even more reason to call him useless. Jolene mocks Ein for not being a high common like them but a low common. Ein apologizes, explaining that the bags he carries are quite heavy. He then starts to appraise the giant rat. At birth, it is said that the goddess of light grants one a job, while the goddess of darkness grants skills. By training one's skills, one can develop various abilities. However, jobs are inherited and cannot be changed. Jobs are divided into 3 tiers: the rare class, which includes a talented few, the high common, and the low commons. Peak, Ein inherited his job from his parents, but after they passed away, he couldn't maintain the family business and chose to become an adventurer instead. As Ein begins working, he struggles to open the rat's mouth. He asks Zoid for help, but Zoid, being the jerk that he is, refuses and kicks Ein away. Jolene then tells Ein that they put themselves on the line to keep him safe and that he should show more gratitude. Ein apologizes and suddenly finds the strength to open the rat's mouth, while also hearing degrading comments from Jolene. Zoid tells him to hurry up with his disgusting work and join them. Ein has no choice but to endure their mockery, just to survive. He blames it all on his job as a lowly appraiser, or as Zoid would say, trash pickers. While still exploring the dungeon, they come across the corpse of a hellhound. Zoid, thinking they are lucky, asks Ein to collect useful materials from it. However, Ein finds this strange, just like any reasonable person would, as the guild intel states that this type of monster shouldn't be in that dungeon. Zoid kicks him again, insisting he do his job. Ein has no choice but to obey. He appraises the hound while Zoid and Jolene act all lovey-dovey. They reach a fork with 2 tunnels, one has a hellhound corpse in it. Zoid commands Ein to go retrieve it, but Ein is scared and realizes it's an obvious trap. He points out that, according to the guild map, there should be only 1 tunnel. Zoid tells him to stop whining, and Ein begs them to leave. Zoid goes ahead into the tunnel with Jolene, who tells him to go back alone. Ein, being a scaredy cat and also because he remembers that no other party was willing to take him, decides to go with them despite his doubts. The trio soon comes across a line of unalive hellhounds, and Zoid thinks he has won a lottery, but Ein voices his concerns, asking who could have defeated so many hellhounds. Zoid yells for him to shut up. Ein then notices frightening eyes in the shadows. Turns out, the unalived hellhounds were the result of the pack fighting over food. They're frightened, and Jolene asks what they should do. That's the one time Zoid's brain did some thinking. He suggests that Jolene cast a paralysis spell on Ein and leave him for the hounds while they make a run for it. Jolene agrees and casts the spell on Ein, and Zoid calls the attention of the hounds to Ein while he and Jolene escape. The hounds attack Ein, who is very scared, biting on his leg and arm. The pain breaks the paralysis, and Ein picks up a stone and hits the hounds away. He swings his bag at them, causing some fruit to fall out, which keeps the hounds busy, allowing him to escape. However, he realizes that Zoid and Jolene have blocked the exit to trap him. Cussing at them, he decides to take the next exit, but luck is really not on his side, and he soon finds himself at a dead end. With hounds behind him and a cliff ahead, Ein lets out a Yagami-like giggle before deciding he would rather jump than be eaten. Ein blames everything on his birth-assigned job. He admits that he became an adventurer to escape his life, but ultimately he failed. Ein realizes that he has a habit of blaming everything on his job and running away, and that he placed limits on himself without giving life a real try. He blames himself for being weak and falls, accepting his fate. Ein is wounded sitting by a tree trunk in the middle of water. A girl appears and makes her way towards him and kisses his forehead. Ein catches a glimpse of her, thinking it must be a dream, before falling back into unconsciousness. When Ein wakes up, he is surprised to find himself without any injuries, and alive. He notices the huge tree and appraises the water droplets from the tree. He discovers that it's a droplet from the world tree, and he is taken aback as he appraises the tree. His suspicions are confirmed. It truly is a world tree. Ein is surprised that the tree exists. Long ago, there was only one world tree that produced the magical energy used daily by people. They breathed in the mana generated by the world tree from the atmosphere and converted it within their bodies. It was said that this tree withered away long ago and no longer exists. However, people wondered how mana continued to be produced if the world tree had died. Scholars assume that other world trees might exist somewhere, but despite searching every inch of the land, they could not find them. Ein thanks the tree for saving him. He hears a girl's voice and thinks it's just his imagination. Determined to find his way out before he starves, he thanks the tree once more and approaches the exit. He knows it's uncharted territory as it was not in the map, meaning not even the guild knows about it. Ein is aware that there may be enemies stronger than the hounds, but he is willing to go through it anyway with a stone in hand, determined to do everything he can. After walking for a while without encountering any monsters, Ein lets his guard down, focusing solely on finding an exit. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain. His ear is gone. In agony, he reaches for it, but before he can reach it, another slash occurs. There go his fingers. In severe pain, he manages to appraise his attacker. It's an S-rank gremlin. Fear grips him. The hounds were only B rank. The gremlin attacks again, giving multiple cuts. Ein realizes how useless his job is. Simply knowing his opponent's rank does not give him the strength to fight. Desperate, he tries to escape, but the gremlin, with an evil smile, prepares to finish him off. Suddenly, it pauses mid-air and then explodes. A new enemy appears. Ein appraises it and discovers it is an S-rank death bear. He is paralyzed with fear as the bear slashes his face, damaging one of his eyeballs in the process. Ein screams for help and tries to get away, but the death bear picks him up and is squeezing the life out of him. Ein thinks it's his end, but luck decided to shine on him as the bear is suddenly defeated. His savior, however, is not pleased to have helped a human. She seems upset at the necessity of it. In the midst of this, Ein passes out. When he awakens, he finds himself once again by the tree, completely healed. His eye, though now a different color, is fine. In front of him is a girl holding a cup of tea. Ein sees her like a beautiful elf out of a fairy tale. Aaron's attention is drawn away from Yuri by Ursula, who then forces him to drink the tea Yuri made for him. After tasting it, he compliments the tea, which makes Yuri excited. He learns that Yuri saved his life and begged Ursula to help him, which is why she eliminated the monsters threatening him, as she ordinarily wouldn't have intervened. Ein thanks Yuri, making her even more excited. However, Ursula, who has had a problem with him from the start, hit his face for casually addressing Yuri, whom she refers to as her daughter. She continues to scold him until Yuri announces that she has no issue with it. Ein is confused about their mother-daughter relationship, as they don't look the part. Ursula, with an uptight expression, explains that she is the guardian of the world tree. She elaborates that there are 9 such trees and that guardians watch over them to ensure their safety and peace and occasionally protect them from outside threats. Ein soon learns that Yuri is the spirit of the world tree. He remarks that it's no wonder she's so beautiful, making Yuri red in the face. Ursula quickly hits him again, scolding him to keep his pickup lines to himself. She mentions that they didn't give him new eyes for that, which reminds him that he has lost an eye. Ursula explains that she healed his wounds with droplets from the world tree, but she couldn't restore his eyeball. Instead, they used a part of the world tree to create an artificial one for him, a spirit eye. She also adds that it was Yuri who asked her to help Ein. Curious, Ein asks Yuri why she would do that for him, to which she responds that it was because he thanked her earlier. Ursula adds that it's rare for someone to fall into that abyss, but whenever they do, Yuri always saves them, yet they never thank her. And when they discover that she is the world tree, they take some of her leaves and branches for themselves. Ein thanks her again for saving him twice. Ursula tells him to get lost since he is now okay, but Yuri reminds her that it's dangerous out there. Ursula tells her that she doesn't care what happens to him. Yuri pleads for a way to help him, leading Ursula to reluctantly agree to train Ein so he can become strong enough to leave the dungeon alone. Yuri hugs Ursula to express her gratitude, and Ein, touched that he'll get to leave the dungeon alive, hugs both of them. Ursula tells him that he's being trained by the most powerful sage, and that she expects nothing less than full effort. Ein is determined to do his best. They enter the dungeon to begin the training. Ursula points into the dark, but Ein can't see anything. She tells him that he has a piece of the world tree in his eyes and should use it. Closing his eyes, he remembers how Yuri had given him light while he was in darkness. When he opens his eyes, the dungeon is bright, surprising him. Ursula informs him that his training has finally begun. She throws a stone at a sleeping gremlin, provoking it to attack. Ursula instructs Ein to dodge all of the gremlin's moves using his appraisal power, as appraising with the spirit eye differs from a normal eye. Ein appraises the gremlin's movements but ends up losing an ear again. Ursula casts a barrier around them and heals Ein with water from the spirit tree. She reassures him that no matter how many times he gets hurt, she will heal him. Once the barrier drops, Ein immediately appraises the gremlin flying toward him, predicting where it will strike. He reappraises to time the gremlin's attack and manages to dodge it. However, as he tries to brag to Ursula, the gremlin attacks again. She warns him not to let his guard down. Determined to master appraisal and use it effortlessly, Ein learns to dodge the gremlin's subsequent attacks. After a week of training, Ein feels proud of his mastery but distracts himself with bragging to Ursula and gets cut again. Ursula heals him once more and announces it's time to move on to the next lesson. She instructs him to defeat the gremlin. Ein protests about lacking combat skills, but Ursula tells him to rely on the spirit eye. She then hands him a wooden sword made from the world tree that Yuri cut for him. Ursula warns him to be careful with it. With the barrier down, Ein prepares for battle against the gremlin. He attempts to strike as the gremlin charges, but it dodges the attack. Ursula tells him he is too slow. He tries again, but the gremlin evades him once more. Ursula reminds him that moves aren't the only thing the spirit eye can appraise. Realizing this, Ein focuses on the trajectory of the gremlin's attacks, so he enters super appraise mode, seeing the gremlin's movements in slow motion. Finally, he lands a hit, taking down the gremlin. Ein is excited to have defeated an S-rank monster. Ursula tells him it's early to start celebrating and instructs him to defeat all the gremlins there. Meanwhile, Yuri is worried about Ein. Back in the dungeon, Ein defeats all the gremlins. For the next lesson, Ursula instructs him to appraise a gremlin's ability and make it his own. She explains that appraisal is about reading information on an opponent, understanding it, and then making it your own. She adds that with the spirit eye, he can also acquire experience. Ein gives it a try, and although it works, it's quite painful. He confirms that he has acquired the gremlin's ability to run super fast, but he tears a muscle because his body cannot keep up with the speed. Ursula heals him and urges him to keep running. Ein continues to try again and again, getting healed repeatedly until eventually his muscles stop tearing. While stretching, Ein informs Ursula that he's ready to take on a death bear, but she tells him he's not ready yet. To help him, she instructs him to appraise her abilities. When he asks what her abilities are, she doesn't hesitate to demonstrate by lighting him up like he's going through a Super Saiyan transformation. Ursula explains that it's an ability called Discard Incantation, which allows one to use magic by simply thinking about it, instead of going through the process of making an incantation. She then instructs him to appraise both the discard incantation and the fireball. Ein tries again but gets burned once more. Ursula heals him and he informs her that he was able to acquire the discard incantation. They try again and he appraises the fireball but gets burned yet again. Ein trains for 5 days with the new abilities he has gained. He collapses a couple of times, but the World Tree droplets come to the rescue. After about half a month of training, Ein is capable of shooting out thousands of fireballs at once. He has also learned to cast mid-level magic. With his newfound abilities and training, he's finally ready to fight the Death Bear. As they watch from the shadows, Ein feels nervous, but Ursula reassures him that he is stronger than before, encouraging him to put his training to use and win. She then pushes him onto the battlefield. With his new abilities, Ein fights the bear and eventually defeats it with 100 rounds of fireballs. He is surprised at how easily he was able to defeat a death bear. After defeating the bear, Ein appraises its ability. Ursula tells him that he now has to defeat monsters as he makes his way to the surface, concluding his training. They're back by the World Tree. Ursula tells Ein that Yuri has a present for him. She hands him a crystal, the remainder of the World Tree spirit core, and adds that she'll make him a new artificial eye with it. Ein declines the gift, stating that it's the source of Yuri's power. Ursula tells him that he is only borrowing it and that it will return to the dungeon once he is no longer alive. She asks him to close his eyes as she performs the transplant. Ein wants to thank Yuri but doesn't find her. Suddenly, her voice responds from within his eye, and she appears. Ursula explains that with the entire spirit core in his eye, Yuri can now reside there. Yuri assures Ein that she will be useful to him. He agrees to have her accompany him and asks Ursula how she feels about it. Ursula hid his face, saying she can't just entrust Yuri to anyone, but she thinks of him as a good person. Ursula imbues Ein's hand with the infinite storage spell, allowing him to store an unlimited number of physical objects inside the seal just by willing it. She then presents him with a spirit sword she crafted to store. Just before handing it over, she stabs his second eye. Yuri heals him quickly, and Ursula forces a philosopher's stone down his throat. She informs him that she has established a permanent link with her consciousness, meaning they can always communicate and she will be able to see everything he does. As Ein prepares to leave, he asks if there's anything Yuri would like to do once she's outside. Yuri expresses a desire to visit her sisters. Ursula explains that the World Tree was originally a single enormous tree, but its branches and spirit core were split into 9 parts and hidden in dungeons across different regions, thus separating Yuri from her sisters. Ein promises to travel the world with her and find her sisters. Yuri is happy and thanks him. They set off, but soon come across 2 paths, and Ein is unsure which one to take. Ursula guides him, stating that she has appraised an escape route for him and that he won't get lost if he follows the arrows. She also warns him of an enemy approaching. Ein readies himself to fight and easily defeats the S-rank Viper. Ursula appraises its abilities, but Ein feels no pain because Yuri heals him immediately. They arrive at a huge door, the one they must pass to reach the surface. Ursula informs him that each dungeon has a boss monster and a labyrinth core that powers the dungeon. The monster protects the labyrinth core, and Ein must defeat it or he won't be able to escape. Ein has doubts that he'd win, but Yuri encourages him, which boosts his confidence. The massive door opens, revealing the core. Before they can reach it, a summoning circle appears, bringing forth a boss monster. Yuri returns to Ein's eye, and he begins to fight the monster. The battle lasts for a while, but thanks to Ursula's advice, Ein defeats it with his ultimate spell, Nova Strike, consuming the monster. Yuri heals him afterward and praises his efforts. Ein thanks her for her help. He then appraises the defeated monster, and Ursula tells him to also appraise the core. She appears and informs him that the labyrinth core can make his eyes stronger. Ein agrees to this, and Ursula adds it to his eye. They leave the dungeon, and the door seals shut behind them, blocking access to the World Tree due to the loss of the labyrinth core. This means no one else can reach it anymore. They make their way to the surface. Meanwhile, at the Adventurers Guild, Zoid is telling some fellow adventurers that Ein sacrificed himself so he and Jolene could escape the dungeon. The others comfort him, believing his lies. While he's being a drama queen, he suddenly hears Ein's voice behind him. Surprised, he almost pops an eyeball from shock. Zoid asks how Ein managed to survive and dismisses Ein's claim of defeating the monsters as a lie. The other adventurers find Zoid's reaction a little sus and question why he isn't happy about Ein's return. Ein calls out Zoid's bluff, sharing everything that Zoid and Jolene did to him. The adventurers immediately switch up Zoid, throwing their drinks at him and calling him a monster. Ein stops them. He knows that Zoid played a huge role in who he has become. Without Zoid abandoning him, he would never have met Yuri and Ursula. He thanks Zoid, leaving both Zoid and the adventurers confused. They comment on how Ein seemed like a different person. Ein gains some new abilities from defeating a boss in a dungeon near the capital. He collects more labyrinth core, and his spirit eye improves. They did not find a world tree in the dungeon, and Ursula tells him that locating one won't be easy. Suddenly, they hear a shout. A monster is attacking a carriage up ahead. Ein rushes to their rescue with Yuri and Ursula back in his eye. He defeats them and appraises the abilities of the monsters while Yuri and Ursula heals the injured entourage. Ein approaches two passengers and asks if they are okay. When Claudia turns to him, she is starstruck and hugs him, calling him her hero. Ein mistakenly thinks Jasper is Claudia's brother and asks him to do something. Jasper corrects him, saying he is the head of a trading company, and then introduces Claudia as the third princess of the land. At the king's mansion, Claudia thanks Ein once again for saving them, but he tells her it is thanks to Yuri. Claudia wants to jump on him again, but Yuri stops her, introducing herself as Ein's wife. Ein is flustered, but Claudia has no issue with it and tells Yuri she would be happy to be the second wife. Jasper then asks to speak with Ein. He proposes marriage, surprising everyone. He explains that he is the head of a guild called the Ginno Company. Ein is familiar with the guild's products. Jasper shows Ein a room filled with beautiful gems and explains that he considers it his mission to safeguard the world's gems. He also mentions that Ein's left eye is a spirit core. He tells them that in order to seal away Micteron, the demon lord of calamity who tried to destroy the world tree used up all of its power and withered, leaving behind its spirit cores. He continues that he has been looking for a spirit core for so long and that Ein's eye stole his heart in an instant. He asks Ein to grant him the privilege of being reflected in his eye forever, holding Ein in a bridal pose. Ursula takes Ein aside and tells him that Jasper has spent a long time searching for spirit cores, meaning he has valuable intel on the world trees. She adds that if Ein were to marry Jasper, he would gain access to Jasper's resources and information, increasing his chances of finding hidden dungeons. Ein returns to Jasper and tells him that while he can agree to be friends, he is not ready to marry him. Jasper agrees and tells Ein that he is free to stay there moving forward. Ein then asks Jasper if he has any leads on other spirit cores, to which Jasper confirms he does, but warns that they are located in very dangerous areas. Ein asks for more information, stating that he might be able to retrieve the cores. The trio is at the secret dungeon that Jasper told them about. Ein hopes that one of Yuri's sisters is inside. He assures Yuri that he'll make sure she gets to see her. Upon entering the dungeon, Ein reaches a dead end. However, Ursula informs him that the wall is fashioned with a teleportation spell and that touching it would transport them deeper into the dungeon. Ein touches the wall and finds himself in a new area within the dungeon, but Ursula tells him that the whole jungle is a mirage. Suddenly, he hears the voice of a little girl greeting Yuri. Yuri appears and greets Pina, her little sister, who is looking at them from a mirror. She is surprised to see her sister teamed up with a human. Yuri asks Pina where she is, but Pina responds that she'll be waiting for Yuri at the end, adding that Yuri shouldn't get lost along the way. Pina wishes them luck, mentioning that she has set a ton of traps in the dungeon and reminds them that they are monsters too. She warns that she cannot guarantee they'll reach her in one piece, setting a challenge for them. Ein accepts the challenge and Yuri returns to his eye. Ein begins his journey to find Pina. However, Pina senses that Ein has ulterior motives, planning to reveal his true nature. With Ursula's help, Ein manages to escape all of Pina's traps, much to her frustration, as she had intended to embarrass him in front of Yuri. Next, an S-rank humanoid attacks Ein by casting a sleep potion. Pina thinks that would be it, but Ein has ability resistance so it doesn't work on him. Pina is more upset, but Ein tells her he's just doing what he can do for Yuri. He then defeats the humanoid and appraises it. Suddenly, he is struck by a rock, indicating that something is attacking from the shadows. Pina wonders why he hasn't taken any damage, but it turns out Ein has a nullify ambush ability. Frustrated, Pina consoles herself that Ein won't be able to harm the silent ants because of their stealth ability. With Ursula's assistance, Ein identifies their location and defeats the ants with a gravity wall attack. He appraises their abilities. Pina is taken aback by his skills. Ein continues to defeat several more monsters, further frustrating Pina, who starts to wonder what he truly is. Meanwhile, back in the city, Zoid walks into a bar where the other adventurers whisper among themselves about him. He approaches Jolene and tries to talk to her, but she warns him to stay away. Two other adventurers step in to protect her. Zoid insists that Jolene was the one who cast the paralysis spell on Ein, but she breaks down crying, claiming he threatened her when she didn't want to do it. The two men grow angry and throw Zoid out of the bar, stating that no one will ever join a party with him again. Zoid is furious and blames Ein for surviving. He decides to take on a very difficult solo quest, something impressive enough to restore his reputation. Zoid's quest leads him to the same dungeon where Ein is, with the task of defeating a C-rank monster. He accidentally touches the wall and is transported into the dungeon jungle. Unaware of the traps, he falls into a trap and thinks it's the end, but finds himself back in the dungeon. Zoid hears Pina's voice, who informs him that no one can truly get unalived in her dungeon. When faced with a life-threatening situation, they are teleported back to the start. She bids him farewell, but Zoid, determined, goes back in, repeatedly trying and getting injured along the way. Eventually, he comes across a huge monster. Just as he prepares to attack, the monster hits him away. In immense pain, Zoid hears Pina's voice again, offering him the option to give up and leave. However, Zoid refuses. The monster inflicts more damage and is about to finish him off when, unexpectedly, the monster is defeated by Ein. Zoid is about to thank his savior but is shocked to discover it's Ein. He asks what Ein is doing there, and Ein responds that he came to clear the dungeon. Ein then appraises the S+ rank monster. Zoid finds it hard to believe that a low common like Ein can defeat such a monster with one swing. Ein heals Zoid with the water from the world tree before causing him to faint. As Zoid loses consciousness, he hears Ein telling Pina to return him outside, leaving him confused about what's happening. Ein then reaches the boss monster's chamber, the final obstacle before reaching Pina. He assumes that defeating the boss monster will seal off the dungeon, but Ursula explains that it should be fine as long as the labyrinth core is not destroyed. The door opens to reveal another jungle on the other side. Suddenly, the ground begins to vibrate, and Ein activates his flight mode. He realizes that the enemy is the ground itself. A portion of the ground elevates, exposing a massive tortoise. Ein attacks it with a fireball, but it has no effect. His other attacks prove ineffective as well. He then comes up with a plan and takes a chance flying straight towards it. At ground level, Ein waits for the monster's attack. Ursula warns him that he's being reckless and might get crushed. The monster raises a leg to stomp on him, but as suspected, its physical attacks cannot hit Ein because it is an illusion. He casts a dispel spell, revealing the monster's true form, a small tortoise. Ursula praises Ein for figuring out what even she could not. He appraises the tortoise, and Ursula feels a sense of familiarity with it. Pina, still upset that none of her plans have worked, tells Ein he should defeat the tortoise, as it's the only way to clear the dungeon. Ein eventually convinces her to meet with them, without having to harm the cute tortoise. Pina and Yuri hug each other, happy to see one another. Pina then playfully teases Yuri about her feelings for Ein. Ein feels happy that Yuri has met one of her sisters. Pina expresses her desire to go with them, saying she's tired of being underground and promises to give Ein her spirit core. They agree to take her, and suddenly the tortoise jumps down from Ein's shoulder and transforms into a girl. She is Pina's guardian, Kurohime. Ursula and Kurohime reunite. Ein then asks Kurohime for permission to take Pina to the outside world. Kurohime agrees and requests to go with them as well. She gives him her Philosopher's Stone, which will allow her to travel with Pina. She demonstrates her ability, revealing that she can create barriers, claiming she would be useful to him. Ursula then adds Pina's spirit core to Ein's artificial eye, while being rude of course. Watching Yuri and her sister together, Ein feels happy for Yuri. He is determined to find the remaining 6 of her sisters. The more, the merrier. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, Zoid wakes up. He cries as he realizes he was saved by a low commoner whom he had looked down upon. Jasper takes Ein to the guild to sell his items. Everyone is excited by Jasper's presence. He's like a celebrity. The attendant assumes Jasper is there to see the guild master, but he clarifies that he is just accompanying Ein. Ein then informs her that he would like to sell some items he collected from dungeons. Jasper adds that he wants to buy everything Ein sells to them. The attendant asks for Ein's guild license and discovers that he is rank F and his job is appraiser. She expresses doubt that an appraiser can defeat monsters and warns Jasper that Ein might be trying to con him. The onlooking adventurers mock Ein for being a low common. Jasper encourages Ein to show them the items, and everyone is shocked to see the mountain of rare items on the table. They begin to suspect that he might have stolen them. Ein feels discouraged by their reaction. This is exactly why he didn't want to visit the guild. Just then, Megan, the guild master, silences the other adventurers. She tells them it is foolish to judge someone based on their job alone. Approaching Ein, she comments on his artificial eye. After assessing Ein's items, the attendant confirms that they are legit. Everyone is surprised and Jasper vouches for Ein. The girl apologizes for looking down on him earlier. Megan also apologizes on her behalf, saying that even if their fates are decided at birth, life is fun because there are those who refuse to fit into such boxes. Ein is touched by her words, telling her that if there are people like her, he is glad he decided to come. Megan states that she admires strong people, and he is exactly the kind she wants in her guild. She encourages him to think about joining and then leaves. The attendant instructs Ein to wait in the waiting room while she processes his items. Jasper tells Ein to also give her the items he obtained from clearing the secret dungeon. Everyone is amazed, crowding around him with questions, but Ein manages to escape and runs away. At Jasper's mansion, which is now also Ein's, he is taking a bath. He feels exhausted from all the attention. Just then, Yuri comments about the moon and he agrees before realizing that she shouldn't be in there. Pina then appears and puts some weird thought into Yuri's mind, causing both Yuri and Ein to become flustered. Ursula also joins them and scolds Ein for having inappropriate thoughts about her daughter. After leaving the bath, Ein finds Kurohime and they have a nice discussion. He learns that there are 7 spirit cores. She explains that even though the first world tree withered, her spirit core was not completely destroyed, meaning the eldest sister, Echidna, is most likely still alive somewhere with her guardian. However, no one knows where they are. Kurohime asks Ein if he is going to give up, but he refuses. He insists that the information doesn't change the fact that he wants to help Yuri find her family. Kurohime realizes that Ein has a special power that draws people close to him. The next day, Megan visits Ein and Jasper. She has come to seek Ein specifically because it's something only he can do. Her request is for him to battle Behemoth, one of the powerful ancient dragons trained by the demon lord Micdoran. Jasper adds that Behemoth suddenly reappeared after being in hiding for a while and attacked some merchants. Behemoth is an SS rank, and Jasper warns that the quest could cost Ein his life, yet Ein surprises both Jasper and Megan by agreeing to take on the challenge. He sets out to find Behemoth in a desert. Ursula helps him appraise Behemoth's location and provides him with intel on its skills. Ein is limited to his sword and abilities since Behemoth can absorb magic. Ein wakes Behemoth from its slumber with an attack. Behemoth has never known defeat and has never encountered anyone stronger than itself. From birth, it possessed overwhelming power and no threat has ever shaken it. With this confidence, Behemoth prepares to fight Ein. When Ein announces that he is there to defeat him, Behemoth lets out a mocking laugh. He boasts about being created by the Demon Lord, but Ein talks down on the Demon Lord, making Behemoth angry. Behemoth unleashes a series of attacks at Ein, who skillfully dodges everyone. Ein then charges at Behemoth, cutting off one of his hands. Behemoth is taken aback, shocked that Ein could pierce his tough skin. In an attempt to surprise Ein, he burrows into the ground, planning to attack from below. He breaks out from under Ein and swallows him. Behemoth suddenly explodes. It happens so fast, Bro is confused. Never before has Behemoth experienced such pain. Accepting his defeat, he finally acknowledges Ein's strength and asks him what he did. Ein explains that he cast an ultimate spell from inside Behemoth's body. He reveals that his appraisal showed only Behemoth's outer hide could absorb magic, and that he raised a barrier to shield himself from the explosion, which is why he's not affected. Ein also mentions that he cast an illusion spell when they first met, and that Behemoth was merely chasing his mirage when he went underground until he released the spell. Ein concludes that Behemoth's downfall came from his overconfidence. After Behemoth passes, Ein feels pity for him. Next, Ein appraises Behemoth's abilities. Yuri, Pina, and Kurohime soon appear, praising Ein for his strength, but he says it's all thanks to them. At the castle, Ein meets with Claudia, who informs him that her father wants to see him. Just then, Claudia's father enters, appearing stern and intimidating. Ein stutters a greeting, but to his surprise, the man is not as mean as he seems. The king refers to Ein as Claudia's future husband and expresses gratitude for defeating Behemoth. He bows to Ein, thanking him for saving Claudia, but Ein humbly shifts the praise to Yuri once again. The king compliments Ein on his modesty, saying that he seems like someone who won't be drunk with power. He also adds that Ein will eventually become a person of great standing. Before he leaves, the king gifts Ein a watch engraved with the royal crest, granting him the freedom to go wherever he pleases. Ein knows that the king's gift will greatly benefit him in his quest to find Yuri's family. Meanwhile, in the city, Zoid is shoulder-bumped by a man discussing Ein's victory over Behemoth. The man and his friends scorn Zoid, referring to him as trash, a rather ironic twist. Frustrated by constantly hearing Ein's name, Zoid is upset. Not long ago, he was stronger than Ein, and he now harbors deep resentment towards Ein. As if waiting for the perfect moment of weakness, Echidna approaches Zoid, and she tells him she could be of assistance. It's morning and Yuri is up. Pina joins her after a bath. As Yuri helps Pina dry her hair, she worries for Ein as he hasn't woken up yet. Pina assures her that it is probably just fatigue, according to Kurohime. To take Yuri's mind off worrying, Pina suggests they go shopping to prepare something for Ein to get him back on his feet. Yuri is excited about the idea but fears the dangers of them heading out alone for shopping, but Pina assures her that it's all good. Zoid is curious about what Echidna wants, and Echidna mentions that Zoid has a grudge against Ein. Zoid is surprised, seeing as she knows, and Echidna has an evil grin. Ein drifts in his dream to his life back as a worthless appraiser. As usual, he gets talked down on and insulted by Zoid, who calls him weak. Ein, seeing this and pissed, and rejects it, but the dream still keeps going. He sees himself being shredded by the hellhounds, how his life would have ended if he hadn't escaped and met Yuri. His dead self makes it extra creepy by waking up all torn and battered, just to diss Ein. The gist of it is that Ein got lucky, and that he isn't original as his powers are borrowed from Yuri. This does bad things to Ein's self-esteem. It was probably the terror of the moment or just the raw shock of seeing how he looks that creeped him out, but Ein wakes screaming. Ursula is waiting by his bedside as he wakes. Ein doesn't seem to remember much about how he ended up in bed, and Ursula explains to him that he exhausted himself and slept for a while. When Ein asks, Ursula mentions that Yuri and Pina left to shop, and from My Hero Academia, hibernating even on the liveliest days. Like seriously, the dude just woke up. Ursula mentions that he was screaming in his sleep, to which Ein explains that he had a bad dream. With the ideologies he generated from his dream, he tells Ursula that he hasn't changed from the trash he was before. He only got lucky meeting her and Yuri. He doesn't believe in himself as he even agrees that Zoid was right about him. Echidna says she can help Zoid get his revenge on Ein. She explains the concept of the spirit eye, adding that Ein has one. Zoid can finally make sense of how Ein became that strong, saying he knew Ein couldn't get that strong on his own. Echidna offers to give him the eye, and Zoid eagerly accepts the offer. With a wicked smile, Echidna sends a spirit eye into Zoid's head. As the power surges through Zoid's body, he goes through a wild transformation. If it comes down to looking like a Temu version of HXH's Maruam and remaining a wheat trash, I'd choose the latter because what the hell? Upon full transformation, Zoid lunges into the town. Basking in his new strength, he feels liberated from his human form. Zoid spots Joel Jolene in the streets with another guy. He doesn't waste any time getting there and taking the guy's head off. His presence is intimidating, and Jolene starts making excuses for her actions as soon as she realizes it's Zoid. She says she can go back and clarify that paralyzing Ein was her idea, but before she completes her piece, Zoid takes her head off as well. Yuri and Pina are still out in town. Yuri stops, suddenly feeling the need to be better and help Ein out as well, instead of always being the one under someone's protection. Pina is somewhat confused when just then there's an explosion caused by Zoid. There are lots of injured, and seeing this, Yuri and Pina head to the scene to help out. Echidna, who watches from a distance, informs Zoid about the spirits, telling him to take down the spirits and Ein will lose his powers. Zoid, thrilled to have Ein back in his pathetic form, rushes to Yuri and Pina. He's about to attack Yuri when Pina locks him in with a magic barrier, giving them time to make an escape. Zoid's attacks to take down the barrier don't work. Echidna informs Zoid that breaking the barrier with random attacks is impossible, suggesting he use anti-spirit's art, a power given to him, to counter the barrier. Zoid adheres to this and easily takes down the barrier with a single hit. He catches up with Yuri and Pina, and this time, he easily destroys Pina's protective barrier. Yuri gets in front of Pina and tells her to run, but Zoid finally gets his hands on Yuri, squeezing her like he's trying to let some paste out of a finished toothpaste. Zoid insults Yuri for giving her power to Ein, and adds that now she'll die because of him. Just then, Ein comes to the rescue. Zoid lets go of Yuri in reaction to Ein's attack, while Ursula and Kurohime arrive as well. They apologize for coming a bit late, but Yuri says she knew they'd come. She was very scared, obviously. Ein asks them all to get back into his eye, and they do, as he readies to fight. He tries to appraise Zoid, but it appears Zoid has a concealment skill, and according to Ursula, Zoid's skills are enough to deceive even a spirit god's eye. Zoid tries to attack Ein, but Ein parries Zoid away. This does nothing to Zoid as the fight intensifies. Ein tries to use a magic barrier but gets warned that it won't work on Zoid. Zoid easily breaks Ein's barrier. Echidna is confident and impressed with her barrier, and is sure that Ein will be unalived by Zoid. Zoid starts taunting Ein, and from the familiarity of his voice and manner of talking, Ein figures out that it is Zoid. Zoid mentions he also received the blessing of a spirit and seems so stoked about it. Ein is trying to grasp everything, getting a little distracted. Before Ursula can fully warn him to focus, Zoid is able to land a hit and send Ein flying. Zoid follows with a series of attacks, but Ein only evades. Even as Ursula urges Ein to go all out, as there could either be one outcome, either Zoid unaliving him or the other way around, Ein knows that even as a monster, it's still Zoid. Zoid praises the power they both have, mentioning that he's surprised Ein hasn't used it for his personal gains. He believes Ein is just like him and has been itching for revenge for all the bullying he received. Ein dismisses Zoid's statement, but just then, his alternate self clouds his mind with more of such. Everything said gets to him, that he's still the lowest of the low, or even that he'd do anything to stay alive. Zoid says again that he and Ein are the same in nature. Just then, Yuri interrupts. Standing up front, she confronts Zoid, attesting to the fact that Ein isn't like that. She adds that Ein is kind and strong, not the type to hold grudges. Ursula follows up, mentioning that Ein has gotten stronger, and not only in his abilities but also in his heart. The courage and kindness he has to help people with his power and many other good things he's done aren't something he got from Yuri, but something he had and cultivated on his own. Ein's alternate self still tries to put doubt in his head. Yuri mentions that meeting Ein changed her fate and is the reason she'll be able to see her family. At this point, Ein is in tears and genuinely asks if he has gotten stronger, to which Ursula and Yuri affirm. Zoid is getting impatient and continues to, together with Ein's alternate self, talk down on Ein. But this time, Ein is more grounded. He's ready to become the Ein Yuri and Ursula believes he is. With that, he unleashes his power. Zoid is stunned at the amount of magical power emitting from Ein. Ursula is impressed, mentioning that Ein is ready to be a real guardian. Ein assures that he won't waver anymore and that he'll become strong enough to save everyone. Ursula says that since Ein has acknowledged his powers, he'll be able to use 100% of the spirit's power. Zoid tries to attack Ein but gets bodied. The difference in power level is so clear, and this time Zoid can't break Ein's magical barrier. Ursula assesses that Zoid is just 10% compared to Ein's 100%. This isn't a close matchup. It's like if Usopp took a swing at Garp. Zoid pleads for more power from Echidna, but guess who gets dog-walked either way? Turns out the only noticeable change is a messed up face, and Ein makes a finishing blow with his sword. Even as he defeats Zoid, Ein still lends a helping hand. Zoid is pissed. He hates the fact that Ein is acting all good and strong, helping even as he's weak. To Ein, there is no problem with helping without reason, or having courage even when weak. Ein mentions that if he could change, then so can Zoid, and once again lends out his hand. Zoid, remorseful, reaches out to Ein's hand. The chaos is over, and Zoid is arrested for good. Ein deduces that someone took advantage of Zoid's situation and gave him the spirit power. He just wonders who and why. Echidna picks up what remains of the spiritual eye she gave to Zoid. Her main aim all these while was to collect Ein's battle data, and with that accomplished, she reveals that her plan is off to a good start. Although she didn't anticipate that Ein wouldn't kill Zoid but use cleansing magic to defeat him instead, she has sealed Zoid's memories of the incident. Hence, the loose ends are tied. She leaves the scene promising to free a certain person, Mikdoran. It is just a regular day at Ein's abode, until Yuri approaches him, awkwardly asking for a kiss. Ein is stunned, but Ursula concurs, mentioning that a kiss is necessary to reinforce the contract between him and Yuri, especially now he's a full guardian. Ein imagines it could be less serious, as the kiss might be like when knights swear fealty to their lords, but Pina and Kurohime pull up, teasing him till everything gets awkward again. Ursula asks that they give Ein and Yuri privacy. Yuri is excited for this and poses for a kiss. Ein is super awkward and trips on his way to her. Falling to Yuri, Ein kisses her forehead instead, and the contract gets reinforced notwithstanding. Yuri is really flustered either way. Echidna meets with a certain demon, Baron Falco. She offers him a task which, according to her, was sent by the demon lord. The task is to take down Ein. Falco doesn't see why a demon of his level should be sent against a weak human, but Echidna briefs him on Ein's feats. Falco doesn't seem impressed, but since it was requested by the demon lord, which is a great honor, he happily and energetically embarks on his journey. He praises himself and his abilities as he speedily travels to Ein's place. Ein has just woken up from sleep and is all nonchalant about their encounter, shushing Falco so he doesn't wake the others. Falco, provoked, unleashes his ultimate attack but gets slapped away by Ein. Almost the level of disrespect Luffy gave Kaido. Before Falco hits the ground, Ein catches up with him and finishes him off mid-air. At least Falco got to experience the power gap between them before blacking out. As Ein appraises Falcon's abilities, the others finally join him from their sleep. Pina teases Ein, mentioning that he must be stronger than Ursula for him to be able to take on an enemy without her assistance, and Ursula proves her wrong with a devastating submission hold on Ein, only that it doesn't matter if he submits. Ein and Yuri visit the castle the next day to check out the Forbidden Library. They come across Claudia on the way, and she escorts Ein for some distance before stating she doesn't have permission to continue. The librarian grants access, and since Ein has the Silver Watch Pass given to him by the king, he is able to make it through. However, Yuri and Ursula can't join him as there is a powerful barrier blocking them. Ein continues on his own till he gets to the library. On arrival, Ein is wowed by how vast the library is, which is a lot of work considering he's searching for a clue. Just then, he notices a girl fall from up top and rushes to the rescue. She is the librarian, flustered but in a nonchalant way. After Ein introduces himself, she mentions she is Alice. Alice questions why Ein is at the library, and he reveals that he needs to research secret dungeons, further explaining that there is someone very important to him and he wants to help her find her family. With that, Alice grants him a book with information on the secret dungeons. Ein is excited only to be stunned when Alice asks how Yuri is. It turns out she is Yuri's sister, and she recognized Yuri's spirit core in Ein's eye. After confirming, Ein realizes the book doesn't contain a secret dungeon, and Yuri doesn't think Alice gave Ein the book by mistake, and Pini agrees. Ein makes the decision to return to the library for clarification. Ein apologizes to Yuri for the fact that she can't meet Alice just yet, but promises he'd do everything in his power to make that possible. Alice is watching all these with her 1,000-mile eye. Her guardian questions why she's spying on Yuri, and from the looks of things she has done that more than once. She also asks Alice if she doesn't want to meet Yuri, as she gave Ein the wrong book. Alice explains that the outside world scares her, and she can only watch since she doesn't have the power to fight. Also, she hates humans as she believes they are the ones who killed her big sister, Echidna. Her guardian feels Alice doesn't see Ein that way, but is unsure if she hasn't decided to join him because she doesn't fully trust him. Flashback to when Ein met Alice. While they discussed, Alice's guardian, Akahane, came in. After exchanging pleasantries with Ein, she thanks him for being kind to Alice, adding that she hasn't seen Alice that happy before. Ein is confused as no expression on Alice conveys the idea that she's happy. Seems like she's too nonchalant to show emotions. Ein mentions that Yuri and Pina are outside, but before he can suggest anything, Akahane mentions that there's nothing that can be done about meeting them. The library doesn't exist within the king's castle. It is a separate dungeon, with its own entrance and exit that only permits humans. Only those permitted by the king and Alice can get in, which is only fair as the place holds the kingdom's secrets and history. In exchange for the protection of the world tree over the place, Alice and Akahane are allowed to stay and read whatever books they want from the library. For Alice to see her sisters, Ein has to find the dungeon and come properly, since if Yuri and Pina were to get in any other way, the contract that has been for ages will be broken. Ein asks if he can just take Alice out normally, but Akahane mentions that Alice is frail and won't last long. She adds that the decision is Alice's to make anyway. Ein walks up to Alice and kindly asks if she wants to see her sisters. Coming to realization, he apologizes as he knows she obviously wants to see them but is just afraid. He can relate as he too was afraid to step into the real world, but with Ursula, Yuri, and the others, he was able to have that courage. Ein says that if Alice makes the decision to come with them, he'd do everything in his power to support her, adding that it doesn't matter how slow they go, he promises he'll take her to Yuri and Pina. In the end, Ein asks if Alice will trust him and come along. By this time, Alice is all flustered and emotional. Ein does know it's weird and hard to believe someone who asks you to trust them, so he promises to find the library the hard way, starting by checking each dungeon listed in the books. The encounter is pretty motivating. and we can say Cupid sneaked into the scene for Alice. Ein bids farewell and takes his leave. Akahane discusses with Alice. She has noticed Alice has taken a liking to Ein. She says it's okay to trust Ein, and that if anything goes wrong, Alice can always come back to the dungeon. Just then, Ein arrives. Akahane urges Alice to make a bold step, and she does. She tells Ein that she trusts him and would like him to take her to the outside world. Ein obliges. Excusing his method, Ein flies Alice out, thanking her for trusting him. Akahane gives Ein Alice's spirit core, and since she can't use teleportation magic, she grants a magical replica of herself, like a clone. With that, they set out to meet Pina and Yuri. The journey is a bit hectic, and Alice is way weaker than Ein expected. After fighting their way to the gate, Ein faces off the final boss. It is a bit bothersome, but Ein clears. As he appraises the boss, Alice is concerned and goes to inspect if Ein is hurt. Ein assures he is fine and thanks Alice for her concern. They're finally home, and Alice meets Yuri and Pina. They're all excited, they just have different ways of showing it. Akahane meets her fellow guardians, and for some reason Ursula is tense. A little bit more than when she met Kurohime. Yuri excitedly hugs Ein, thanking him for bringing Alice. Alice's reaction stirs Pina's teasing nature. To investigate if Alice likes Ein, Pina also hugs Ein, creating a bait that Alice falls for. Pina continues to taunt and tease Alice, and when Ein tries to intervene, he gets confronted with the question of whether he likes Alice. Ein is at a sauna, and awkwardly enough, together with Yuri and the others, they keep on taunting him, making him super uncomfortable. Away from all this, Ein asks Ursula about processing Alice's spirit core, and Akahane gives him her Philosopher's Stone, as she'll love to help too. Ursula asks Ein to get down in preparation for the process. Suddenly, Alice steps out but slips and falls. In an unfortunate turn of events, she grabs onto Ein's shorts for balance, accidentally pulling them down. This leaves Ein feeling even more awkward and embarrassed. Megan and Jasper pay Ein a visit at his home. After exchanging whimsy pleasantries, they get to the business that brought them there. By the king's request, Ein is offered a task to vanquish demons terrorizing the Rayik domain. Demons have been locked away for centuries by a dimensional wall, but have lately been on the rampage. Ein inquires from Ursula and the others, but Ursula protests about helping mere strangers, reminding him that their goals are set elsewhere. Ein mentions that he was a stranger too when Yuri and her helped him. He can relate to the plight of facing an overwhelming enemy and wishes to help these people in need, as Ursula and Yuri once helped him. Yuri and the others agree with Ein, and Ursula does see some point and joins in, saying she's fine with it if Yuri is in. Ein accepts the task. A man and his daughter, together with a group of people, head into the woods. They are all gloomy, like they are in an apocalyptic era. The daughter complains to her father about her hunger, and he assures her she won't suffer that for long, as they are heading to a place where she won't have to suffer anymore. She seems excited, imagining it to be like heaven, where she believes her mom is, but her father looks bothered. They get to their destination, and just then, the ground starts shaking. Unlike the confused girl, the others are well aware of what is going on. Mentioning that Lord Hydra, a demon, is coming, they all prostrate themselves. They came with the intent of seeing the demon and making a sacrifice, which is offering the man's daughter to the demon. The man moodily tells his daughter to go to the demon, referring to it as God. He says that it will take her to heaven, although he won't be joining her at the moment. He is already sobbing when his daughter, who is trying to be brave, consoles him, telling him not to cry about her since she won't be there to wipe his tears, as she had when he wept over her mother. He is more heartbroken to know that his daughter was aware of everything all the while. She rushes to the demon. Lord Hydra complains about their lateness, but is impressed by the offering, as its different heads seem eager to consume. Just as the girl shakily requests that the demon take her to heaven, her father rushes in with a change of heart, asking the demon to take him instead. The villagers protest his motion, as the sacrifice is the only way their village can remain safe. Lord Hydra doesn't accept men and reminds them of their pact. It takes a woman every month in exchange for not destroying their village, and because of this, it is pissed off and sends out a poisonous gas to kill everyone. It is about to consume the girl when Ein intervenes just as the girl screams for help. Ursula analyzes the demon, and with Yuri's help, Ein detects and clears the poison, healing the villagers. Lord Hydra is surprised that Ein can neutralize the poison just by a look, and Ein himself is surprised as well, even though he knew Yuri's powers had upgraded. Ein urges the villagers to run, saying he will handle the demon, but they don't see a point in running, as Lord Hydra will still come for them. Lord Hydra agrees with them, as he doesn't think one little human can turn the tables. Just as he gloats, Ein pulls a Zoro-level sword slash, finishing off Lord Hydra in one hit. The villagers are awed, and some even know of him. Ursula analyzes Ein's move, and to Ein's surprise, she praises his tactic. After praising its abilities, the villagers happily thank him for saving them. Ein mentions that he'd like to meet the lord of their domain, but just then, there is a sudden drop in mood in the villagers. The girl's father says that they are grateful that Ein saved them, but it would have been better if he hadn't. That being said, they all leave. The girl breaks free from her father and runs back to thank Ein. Ein promises to do his best to protect the smiles on their faces. With that assurance, the once moody girl is excited. Ein sends her off, now looking forward to meeting the lord of the domain. On getting to the lord's manor, Ein and the others don't feel right about the place, as it is suspiciously fancy. On that note, Ein asks them all back into his eye, as they don't know what lies ahead. Ein introduces himself on entering the building. A man comes to him, introducing himself as Nigun. He seems to have some knowledge about Ein. Nigun offers Ain some refreshments, a meal he made. Ain tries it and it seems to rival seawater in the contest of saltiness. Ain doesn't come clean on how the meal really is, but Nigun experiences it as he tastes it. It turns out he mistook salt for sugar. Getting to business, Ain asks about the demons that have started appearing in Nigun's domain. Nigun mentions he doesn't know about any demons, adding that there have only been sightings of monsters from the Abyss Woods where they reside. He believes people mistook monsters for demons and asks Ain to send word that there's no issue in his domain. Ain still requests to check around, just for confirmation. He mentions that the people seem to be struggling, adding that he defeated a Hydra on his way. On hearing this, Nigun is so shocked he drops his tea. He freaks out, mentioning that the village will be terrorized by monsters again. He mentions that the monsters stayed away because of the Hydra's protection, and Ain points out that the Hydra demanded sacrifices. Nigun supports sacrificing alike to save more lives, mentioning that Ain won't be there to always protect them. It is his duty to protect the domain he inherited from his father, and he reveals he will do whatever it takes to fulfill that duty. He dismisses the meeting, taking his leave. Ain leaves, wondering if he went about things the wrong way. Despite this, he doesn't feel right about sacrificing anyone for this cause. Just as he's conflicted, Yuri comes along, comforting him. She says that what matters most is him following the path he feels is right. This is reassuring to Ain. Yuri's speech, that is, not the fairy tale pose. Nigun freaks out about the death of Hydra, complaining to a being in a mirror he refers to as Shadow. The being, who is a direct reflection of him, mentions that Hydra can be replaced and isn't a big issue. The only problem is having to deal with Ain, as his feats are way above human. Shadow says that Ain isn't human but a demon. Nigun finds this unbelievable, but Shadow feeds him more lies and manipulates him, telling him to kill Ain if he wants to protect his domain. Nigun isn't sure he can, but Shadow proceeds with more manipulation, reminding Nigun that he has never led him astray. As he questions Nigun's trust in him, Nigun finally bends to his will. As Nigun takes his leave, being jolly about killing Ain like someone swapped his mind with Chucky's, Shadow mocks the fact that humans are easy to control. He is eager to take over Nigun's body, and maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to tell the difference between sugar and salt. Ain inspects the walls of the village. They are damaged and there's no one at the watchtower, which makes it easy for monsters to invade. Ain sees a villager and introduces himself, but she flees, saying she knows nothing as soon as he asks her about the land and its lord. Ain notices the pattern is the same as with other villagers and suspects that they all fear Nigun. Even so, he can't back down as he won't be able to protect a single smile if he does. Coming across another villager, Ain requests permission to question him. The villager doesn't run or anything and says there's nothing to talk about. He mentions that the military and hunters have been there before and couldn't do anything. They ended up turning their back on the villagers and he doesn't think Ain will be any different. The man mentions that as soon as the Hydra was slain, monsters attacked and wrecked the place. As he laments, he asks Ain to go home as an advice. Just then, Ain walks up and using his magic, heals the land. Dude is literally earthbending, planting seeds and making them germinate. The man is surprised, but Ain doesn't stop here. Ain moves over to the walls and creates a really high and thick one to prevent the monsters from invading. Bro thinks he's in Attack on Titan. Ain tells the man to let him know if there's anything else he needs, asking the man to resolve to live again instead of resolving to die. He wants to help and pleads that the man let him. The man is still shocked but bursts into laughter. He mentions that Ain's request to help is the second he has received, with the first being from Nigun's father. After telling Ain about Nigun's father's good qualities, he mentions that things went sideways when Nigun took over. It was around that same time that the Hydra appeared. The man reveals that Nigun made a sacrificial pact with the Hydra. Nigun ruled with an iron fist, and those who could no longer endure his tyranny never returned after seeking an audience with him. The man mentions that he'll start believing again because of Ain. Ain, feeling emotional promises to do his best. Just as the man takes his leave, Ain senses a huge horde of monsters heading towards them. Ain is determined to save the village, no matter what it takes. Ain stands ready to defend the villagers. It won't be easy, but seeing the villagers giving up and remembering how they trusted him, Ain resolves to do his best. He asks the villagers to stand back, then flies into the sky and fires an attack at the approaching monsters. However, he only inflicts minimal damage. There are still thousands of them coming closer. The monsters take to the air toward Ain, but he annihilates them all. Next, he uses the Gravity Well spell to eliminate more monsters, including one that tries to sneak up on him. He continues casting spells, destroying the monsters set by set. The villagers, who had been running for their lives, stop and are surprised to see that Ain has defeated all those monsters by himself. Pina warns Ain that he will collapse if he keeps fighting this way, but Ain insists that he won't go down until he defeats every last one. He summons an expansive slash spell as his final move. Its range grows until it covers all the monsters. Ignoring the spirit's warnings, he slashes, defeating all the monsters at once. Feeling satisfied, he finally collapses to the ground. Yuri rushes over and heals him. Ain thanks her, and just as he's about to ask about the villagers, Mia happily jumps on him. The rest of the villagers express their gratitude for saving them for the second time. One of the villagers feels motivated and says they can't keep being helpless. They need to start fighting for themselves instead of waiting for death. The motivation is contagious and soon everyone is fired up as well. Yuri and Ain are happy to see the villagers' newly found will to live. Ain says he's glad to be a little more like Yuri now. She saved him and gave him dignity, competence, and courage, and now he has been able to share some of that with the villagers. He declares that he wants to stay by her side. The villagers fawn over their conversation, embarrassing both of them. One of the villagers states they won't let Nigun push them around anymore, but Nigun immediately appears behind him, terrifying everyone. Regaining their courage, the villagers stand up to Nigun. Nigun accuses them of being fooled and claims that Ain is a demon trying to take control of the Rayik domain. The villagers don't believe his story. One of them boldly states that even if Ain were a demon, he would rather be ruled by him. Nigun is disappointed. Another villager supports the idea that they want a lord who will fight alongside them, just as Nigun's father once did. Nigun begins to lose his mind and calls for Shadow's help. He pulls out a mirror, and Ain immediately tries to appraise it, but he cannot read it. Meanwhile, Shadow is prepared to proceed with his long-term plan. Ain tries to prevent Nigun from opening the mirror, but it's too late. A dark aura quickly surrounds Nigun, taking him into his subconscious. Nigun asks what he should do. Shadow tells him to follow his instructions and everything will get better. He then says that the villagers are useless if they won't obey, and Nigun should eliminate them like he did his father. Nigun, feeling confused, responds that his father was ill, but Shadow laughs and reveals the truth. In the past, when Nigun was young and with his father, the villagers loved his father. Nigun idolized him and wanted to be a great lord like him, but he was clumsy and weak. Other children avoided playing with him, believing he was sick and contagious. One day, he overheard some villagers say he wasn't his father's biological son but was just found. As he ran away in tears, he stumbled and fell into a puddle, utterly heartbroken. At that moment, Shadow appeared, taking on Nigun's appearance. He assured Nigun that it was fine to be different from his father and that he should simply be himself. Nigun asked who he was, why he was there, and why he looked like him. Shadow ignored the questions and just said he's Nigun's imaginary friend, asking him to keep it between them. Nigun was thrilled since he'd never had a friend before. They became inseparable and Nigun seemed much happier. Then one day, Nigun's father fell ill. Shadow provided Nigun with a recipe for a herb to help his father recover. Trusting Shadow, Nigun prepared it for his father, who drank it happily, but his condition only worsened. Nigun continued preparing the herb until his father passed away. Heartbroken, Nigun felt lost, but Shadow promised to help him rule. Fast forward to the present, Shadow finally reveals that Nigun had unknowingly poisoned his father with the herbs. Meanwhile, Ain is desperately trying to reach Nigun. Nigun feels betrayed and overwhelmed with guilt. Shadow had deceived him with illusions. Shadow also reveals that he lied about Ain being a demon. In fact, he is the demon. Shadow's original plan was to control Nigun's father and establish a route to export humans to the demon realm. But Nigun's father never let his guard down. Instead, Nigun made a great pawn, easy to control. Shadow admits that he has sent many humans to the demon realm thanks to Nigun. Then he finally delivers the bitter truth. Nigun is weak and unfit to be a lord. Nigun falls apart. The dark aura intensifies, completely covering him. When it finally clears up, Nigun is different. Shadow is taken over. Ain asks who he is and Shadow delightfully introduces himself as a Viscount among the 5 ranks of demon nobility, Shadow the Enticer. Ain asks Shadow where Nigun is, and Shadow replies that Nigun is still in the body, just weak. Shadow managed to take over because of a tiny bit of messing with Nigun's feelings. Ain is upset. Shadow blames Ain for Nigun's current state, insisting that his plans had been going well. He had been using Nigun to weaken the territory's defenses and ship humans off to the demon realm, but Ain's appearance messed up the plan. Now, Shadow feels he has no choice but to end Ain himself. Shadow claims that Ain won't be able to hurt him as long as he's in Nigun's body. When Shadow attacks, Ain quickly restrains him with a barrier, but Shadow breaks through it with ease. Shadow summons demons from the ground to attack the villagers. Ain immediately defends them and builds a barrier to keep the villagers safe. However, Shadow approaches with more monsters and breaks the barrier, allowing the creatures to leap toward the villagers. In a moment of quick thinking, Ain uses body doubles to fight off the monsters. While distracted, Ain is hit by Shadow's punch, which leads to a flurry of additional blows from Shadow. Ain wants to strike back but hesitates, remembering that it's Nigun's body he would be attacking. The spirits tell him that being on the defensive won't help him, but Ain is afraid of harming Nigun. As Shadow continues to punch him and grows increasingly frustrated, he tries to provoke Ain with taunts, urging him to sacrifice Nigun to save the villagers. Ain flatly refuses and calls out to Nigun, but Shadow is confident that Ain will never reach him. Despite bleeding, Ain approaches Shadow. Shadow, annoyed by his resistance, punches even faster and harder. The girls beg Ain to stop. Even Yuri's healing magic cannot keep up with the injuries he's sustaining. Ain grabs Shadow by the collar and headbutts him. Meanwhile, inside the body, Nigun remains depressed, blaming himself for everything. Suddenly, he hears a voice calling his name. It's Ain. Ain tries to remind Nigun of his wish to protect the village, like his father did. Nigun remembers his father's words that he will become a great lord someday, and tears begin to fall. Meanwhile, the villagers summon their courage and agree to fight off the remaining monsters themselves. Nigun realizes that what he did is unforgivable, but he understands that facing the truth is hard and he can't move forward if he doesn't. Gathering his strength, he stands and walks toward the light, following Ain's voice. Shadow regains his composure and declares that Ain's resistance is futile. Just as he is about to attack again, he loses control of the body. He yells at Nigun to give up, insisting that he'll never leave the body. Nigun says that's better and only takes over half of the body. He thanks Ain, then Nigun pulls out a dagger and plunges it into his own chest. Ain wants to rush to him, but Ursula stops him, insisting that Nigun's sacrifice should not be in vain. Nigun falls to his knees with Shadow struggling. In an emotional speech, Nigun admits that he realized Shadow was no ordinary illusion. He acknowledges that what Shadow did was terrible, but Shadow saved him and was his friend. Shadow pretends to be touched and reminiscing about their memories, only to say that Nigun was merely a pawn at his disposal. He says that weakness is a sin, and that just seeing Nigun makes his blood boil. Refusing to waste any more time pretending to be friends, Shadow chooses to abandon the body. Shadow exits Nigun's body, taking on his original hideous form, a lizard and a pom-pom, and attempts to flee. He spots Mia and decides to take her body, but is immediately pinned to the ground by Ain's sword. Ain rushes to Nigun and begins to heal him. After a while, it seems like he might give up, but Yuri joins him for support. They both call out for Nigun to wake up as they continue healing him. A bright light suddenly appears where Nigun is. A hand reaches out to him and he takes it. His wound heals and he finally regains consciousness. Ain and Yuri are thrilled, but Nigun pushes them away in anger. He insists that he should be gone, claiming that giving his life was the only way to atone for his sins. Ain refuses to accept that. The villagers concur, with their spokesperson stating that although he'll never forgive Nigun, it would be no different of them wanting him gone. Besides, that won't erase his sins. He tells Nigun he must atone by facing what he has done, no more running away. Nigun realizes he had been trying to escape to go see his father again. He thanks the villagers for giving him another chance. Yuri is happy but unexpectedly faints. She says she must have gotten a little tired, and Ain realizes she used so much power earlier. He carries her off to rest against a tree. While holding her, Ain reflects on how he might have been like Nigun if Shadow had found him first. Anger rises within him and he vows to make the demons pay for exploiting people's weaknesses. Everyone stands around worried about Yuri's condition. Meanwhile, Shadow, still pinned to the ground, complains that he cannot end up like this and crawls out in an even smaller form. However, his escape is cut short by a barrier placed by Pina. Ain joins them and has some questions for Shadow. He asks why Shadow was targeting him, but Shadow refuses to answer. As Ain is about to finish off Shadow, the latter pleads for his life. Shadow promises to provide information if Ain sets him free. Ain agrees, but Ursula does not. Shadow reveals that an order has been given to eliminate Ain. When Ain asks about the source of this order, Shadow begins to say the name, but he bursts apart. Ursula notes that it appears a spell was cast on Shadow to activate if he disclosed sensitive information. They realize they are dealing with a cunning enemy. As Ain is about to leave, the villagers thank him for his help, but Mia is saddened to see him go. Ain promises to visit her again. Nigun approaches Ain to thank him personally and requests one last favor. He wants Ain to continue supporting the Rayik domain. He mentions that monsters frequently invade Rayik territory, and Ain's support would mean a lot. The villagers echo Nigun's plea, leaving Ain speechless. Back to the capital. In the palace, Ain is surprised to learn that they want him to take charge of the Rayik territory. The king explains that he intended to grant Ain a noble title as a reward anyways, but Nigun requested the transfer of the territory to Ain and has voluntarily turned himself in. Nigun wants to help the Rayik domain once he has been formally judged and has completed his penance. Ain doesn't know what to think. Jasper advises him to focus on his own objectives and assures him that he will handle all the noble responsibilities. He also points out that with his new title, Ain will have many opportunities to build connections, which could help gathering information about secret dungeons. After considering it, Ain approaches the king and accepts the offer. The king is pleased. Claudia jumps on Ain, saying that they'll soon get married now that he's a noble. Yuri joins her, trying to claim her place. Claudia agrees that Yuri is the first wife. Meanwhile, Alice just stands to the side feeling tense while Pina teases her. In the Demon Kingdom, two demons are discussing the recent deaths of Falco and Shadow, which was by a mere primate. They mock both demons, labeling them a disgrace to the 5 ranks of demon nobility. Suddenly, one of the demons loses his head. It's Ioana's doing. The remaining demon quickly apologizes. Ioana contemplates using him as her new toy but decides against it, realizing he'll shed hair all over her. Instead, she orders him to clean up the mess. Echidnas is watching Ain and comments that they would be in trouble if he couldn't easily defeat someone of Shadow's caliber. Ioana joins her, displeased that Echidna is so fixated on a mere human. Echidna asks if she thinks any mere human could defeat Falco and Shadow. Luana wonders if she should test that. Echidna smirks and asks Ioana to run an errand for her. She wants Ioana to bring back one of the World Tree spirits, adding that Ain will be there since his goal is to visit the spirits of the World Trees. Now intrigued, Ioana accepts the task and feels confident about eliminating Ain and bringing back the spirit for Echidna. As she's about to leave, she realizes that her ride has run out of juice. She asks Echidna to dispose of it for her and leaves on her own. Echidna is amused and returns to watching Ain, She says he must strive to become even stronger. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Yuri asks Ein what he wants for lunch, but before he can respond, there's a knock on the door. It's Alice, who says she needs to talk to Ein about something important. Ein invites her in just as Pina appears out of nowhere, excited for what she thinks is a love confession. Yuri shares in the excitement and wants to join in. Alice clarifies that it's a serious issue. She explains that she's been using her 1,000-mile eye to search for world trees and has found one. Ein urges that they should go see it immediately. Kirsch says she's in favor. Ein and the girls are startled by her voice and look around. Alice spots her first laying on the bed. Kirsch greets everyone, and they all turn to her. Ein panics, but Yuri rushes over to hug her big sister only to land on the bed. Kirsch laughs, explaining that it's not her real body. Ein is surprised to see another sister, while Pina tells him that Kirsch is the second oldest. They introduce themselves, though Ein feels awkward. Alice brings the conversation back on track, and Kirsch informs them that a world tree is currently being targeted by a demon, and they could use Ein's help. She says they're holding out, but they are unsure how much longer it can last as the demon is quite powerful. Ein immediately agrees to help and asks where the tree is located. Kirsch reveals that she is not the one being targeted. Alice says it's May's tree. Yuri tells Ein that May is the youngest sister. Ein asks about May's guardian, and Kirsch explains that May's guardian died long ago while trying to protect the tree. Kirsch has now taken on the responsibility of being May's guardian. Ein recalls that it was said they couldn't leave their trees, but Alice clarifies that the eldest sisters are high-level spirits, all capable of independent movement to some extent. Ein now understands the situation. Kirsch says her current form is merely a double. Her real self is still with May, protecting her, but she doesn't know how much longer she can hold out. Alice asks if Kirsch's evil eye can't defeat the demon. Kirsch believes she could potentially do it if she went all out, but that would destroy May's tree and affect the Rayik domain. Ein realizes that Kirsch's mask is meant to seal her evil eye. He wonders just how powerful the demon is. This time, it's not just him the demon is targeting, but a spirit as well. Ein is determined not to allow that to happen. He expresses his desire to help Kirsch and May, and everyone agrees. Ein asks Kirsch to hang on a little longer, and she responds positively, saying goodbye. Next, Ein heads to the secret dungeons. It's a forest. Ursula warns him that it is enchanted with powerful curses. Ein continues walking. He knows the way with Alice's help. As he walks deeper into the forest, they realize the strange lack of monsters. Says the locals had mentioned the area teeming with tough monsters. Ursula explains that sometimes monsters can sense a being's strength and avoid approaching recklessly. Taking advantage of this, Ein decides to move quickly. He flashes across the forest until Ursula tells him to stop. Something is approaching. Looking up, Ein sees a swarm of bees and a demon among them. She introduces herself as Hornet the Indestructible, a count of the 5 ranks of demon nobility. Hornet orders her worker bees to attack, but a bear suddenly appears, annoying her. She commands her bees to deal with the bear first before returning her full attention to Ein, saying how defeating 2 demons has made him proud. She plans to humble him this time. As her bees swarm around Ein, Hornet is excited, but he suddenly disappears and reappears behind her, plunging a sword into her. Hornet is surprised, but quickly uses her ability, Pheromone Commander, to disguise herself among the bees. Ein doesn't waste any time destroying the bees to locate her. Hornet is terrified and flees to fight another day. She sees a portal that's not hers but decides to use it anyway. Upon entering, she is caught by Ioana, who questions why she is running. Hornet frantically tries to explain that Ein is much stronger than she expected, but Ioana ends her mid-sentence. She's tired of dealing with morons. Excitedly, Ioana turns her attention to Ein, who has already found her. She introduces herself as Ioana, a duke of the 5 ranks of demon nobility. Ein senses that Ioana is on a different level compared to Hornet and realizes that she must be the demon Kirsch had mentioned. Impressed that he can sense her power despite her using a block magic spell, Ioana reveals her plan to execute him and kidnap the spirit. However, Ein declares that he won't allow it to happen. Ioana proudly challenges him, asking what he intends to do to stop her. In response, Ein's real body appears behind her, delivering a weakening spell. Caught off guard, Ioana quickly attempts to block his punch. Ein, relentless, begins to punch her repeatedly before throwing her to the ground. Rather than being intimidated, Ioana is thrilled by the pain. She says it has been a long time since someone made her bleed. She thinks this fight will be fun. She fires precision shots at Ein, designed to follow him until they strike. To her surprise, Ein parries the attack, changing the target back to her. She tries to dodge but gets hit, realizing her ability isn't working. With little time to think, Ein swiftly severs her head. Surprisingly, her head continues to talk. Ein comments that demons are as stubborn as cockroaches. He informs Ioana that he hadn't just used a drain-level spell once, each of his punches was layered with it, leaving her weaker than the monsters in the area. Yet, Ioana remains proud and refuses to let someone she calls a lowly rabble take her abilities. She opens a portal to escape, insisting she would have won if Ein hadn't resorted to a cowardly ability like Drain Level. Angrily, she swears to defeat him next time. Ein wants to pursue her but is stopped by Ursula. They need to ensure Kirsch and May are safe first. Alice leads Ein to a huge tree cocoon. Although it seems obvious, Alice explains that ordinary people can't see it. Ein realizes that his spirit eye allows him to perceive it, while Ioana likely couldn't see the cocoon but could sense its energy, which explains her blind shots. Just as Ain wonders how to enter, the cocoon opens. Kirsch's voice invites them inside. Once they step inside, Pina and Yuri emerge, admiring the surroundings. Kirsch calls out to her sisters, and this time, Yuri seizes the opportunity to hug her while Pina does their secret handshake. Ain is relieved that they are safe and asks about May. Kirsch shows him that May is taking a nap. Ain approaching her. She's an adorable little girl. Ain doesn't want to wake her. However, as he steps away, he accidentally steps on a stick, causing it to snap. May's eyes fly open. Seeing Ain, she begins to wail loudly, and Ain is instantly terrified. Ain tries to comfort May, who is crying. He smiles at her, but this only worsens it. Fortunately, Yuri appears to help, and May's face lights up when she sees her. Pina and Alice too. Ain is relieved that May has stopped crying, but suddenly she remembers the attack and warns her sisters, pointing at Ain as the attacker. Yuri steps in to explain the situation, and May apologizes for her misunderstanding. Ain also apologizes for scaring her. May then asks if she can sit on Ain's lap, and he agrees, gently patting her head as she requested. Next, she wants him to lift her high into the air, which he does. She keeps asking him to lift her higher, and eventually Ain takes off into the sky with her. However, he begins to wonder if he may have gone too high. Meanwhile, the sisters are concerned. They recall how severe May's crying fits can be, with Kirsch saying that her longest lasted a whole week, then laughs wickedly. Yuri suggests distracting May with a lollipop, while Pina says that not even Ain can win the affection of all the spirits. When Ain returns to the ground, he anxiously awaits May's reaction. To his delight, May absolutely loves the experience and declares that he is now on her list of people she likes. The sisters cheer for Ain's newfound acceptance. May then asks if she can join them, and Ain turns to Kirsch for her opinion. Kirsch says she'd like to respect May's wishes but decides to stay behind to watch their home. Ain encourages her to think of herself first, promising to respect her decision just as she respects May's. He assures her that he will set up a barrier and create a double to ensure their safety. Grateful, Kirsch hands over her and May's spirit cores to him and finally agrees to join them. Her sisters are excited. Ain is happy having united 4 sisters. Ursula mentions that there are still 4 more to find and is confident he will succeed. Ain reflects on feeling worthless in the past, but being with them makes him feel strong. He takes pride in protecting their smiles and wants to keep being someone he can be proud of. Ursula is touched by how far they have come, though she denies it when Ain notices. Ursula adds the new spirit cores to Ain's spirit eye, making it 2 additional members to his little eye community. From Kirsch, Ain gains the evil eye of nothingness, and from May, he receives the power of tree creation. His artificial eye levels up, now enabling him to appraise auras. Kirsch warns him to avoid overusing the evil eye to prevent side effects. Ursula explains that with appraising auras, he can assess tremendous athletic abilities. High-ranking demons can manipulate auras and attack with them, but oddly enough, Ioana underestimated him and didn't bother to use it. Lastly, Ain's sword is enhanced with the Smite evil power, enabling it to cut through magic and absorb an enemy's aura for strength. Ain is thrilled by these upgrades. He feels he will be on equal footing against the demons now. Meanwhile, Echidna holds a meeting with the nobles of the demon realm to discuss finally eliminating Ain. Ain and his companions arrive at the mansion in the Rayik domain where Nigun lived. He suggests they clean the mansion. However, everyone has something to say while Kirsch is drunk and asleep, and May is throwing a tantrum. It's a rough start and Ain is already feeling stressed. The cleaning begins and Ain pairs them up to make the task easier, each spirit with their guardian and Alice with him. Everyone gets to work. While Ain and Alice clean the library, she thinks about how she's alone with him. This is her chance to confess her feelings. Ain, noticing her hugging a book, comments on how in love she seems and adds that he feels the same. However, Alice misunderstands him, thinking he means he is in love with her. Despite Ain talking about his love for reading and the smell of paper, Alice remains oblivious and gets all worked up. Kurohime finishes her cleaning tasks and goes to check on Pina. The room looks sparkling and Pina is proud, but Kurohime sees through her illusion. She orders Pina to tidy up the room for real, getting all scary mom on the girl. Yuri and Ursula are responsible for the bathroom. Yuri is excited about the chores until she slips. Ursula to panic and rush to catch her, but Yuri manages to catch herself. Yuri checks on Ursula, and they finally have a heart-to-heart. Yuri asks Ursula to stop being so overprotective. She says she wants to try everything she can as doing new things make her happy. Ursula agrees, stating that Yuri's happiness is her happiness, and they resume their work. May and Kirsch are to clean a mysterious room. May discovers a cute dress, and Kirsch realizes it's a dressing room. Excited, May wants to try it on, but she also finds something nice for Kirsch, only to reconsider because it may be too revealing. Suddenly, she gets an idea. After Ain finishes tidying the bedroom, he steps outside to check on everyone else but pauses when he sees Yuri coming down the stairs. She's wearing a beautiful gown, and he asks her why she's all dressed up. Yuri explains that they've decided to have a welcome party. Then she asks him what he thinks of her dress, and he replies that she looks cute, which makes Yuri very pleased. Ain offers to help with the party preparations, but Yuri pulls him along, saying they've already set everything up and it's also a surprise party to thank him for all that he does. She leads him into a room where the rest of the sisters and guardians are gathered, all dressed up. Kirsch has even started drinking. Ein is starstruck. He feels like he is in one of the most luxurious situations imaginable and tells them all how beautiful they look. Pina hands him an outfit to try on, but Ein refuses. Yuri looks sad, and Ursula threatens him, insisting he put it on. Ein changes into the outfit, and Yuri absolutely loves it. Alice is too shy to even look, while May beams with pride, happy that she chose the outfit, and Ein thanks her for it. Yuri then pulls Ein onto the dance floor. Alice looks sad and wants to turn away, but Yuri invites her to dance too, assuring her that it will be more fun together. Pina joins them, and Kurohime provides the music. Everyone is having a great time, smiling happily. Later, Yuri and Ein take a moment alone outside. She thanks him for helping her reconnect with her sisters. Ein promises to find the others, and Yuri says she's counting on him. She expresses how much fun she's having and wishes they could keep enjoying moments like this forever. Ein reassures her that they can because, with her and the others, each day becomes more fun than the last. He tells her that being with them makes him happier than anything and promises to do his part to make every day better and better. Yuri is pleased.